Hi, my name is Kaleigh, and today I'm going to be taking you on a tour of my apartment. And my fiance and I have this little animal sanctuary. So we have a ton of rescues that all live in our apartment. Don't worry, there's lots of room. We have made little nooks and crannies for everybody to hang out and have their own space. I think we're at our max right now, but I'm going to tell you kind of the story of how this got started and share with you each animal's story. It's our goal one day to have our own piece of land where we can rescue farm animals from factory farms and anyone that needs rescuing, we want to rescue. We love these animals with all our hearts. We don't have kids yet, so these are our kids. And I just want to kind of share the story with you. So we moved into this apartment about 3 years ago. So 3 years ago in July 2017. And in September, we knew we wanted to adopt a cat. That was all we wanted at first. We're both vegetarian. We both love animals. But at first, we just wanted to adopt a cat. And we knew we wanted a rescue. So I was looking online at pictures of kittens. And of course, I thought all of them are cute. But this one picture just hit me one day. And I was like, that's the one. And that's how we got Bubbles. So here's a picture of Bubbles. We got Bubbles in September 2017. And he was the best cat I've ever known. I am more of a dog girl, but this cat he was the sweetest boy, and I felt like my soul knew him, if that makes sense. And he was really my buddy more than my fiance's. So here's Bubbles. I never wanted a cat named Bubbles. I thought Bubbles was a dumb name, but he was awesome. Here's a picture. My fiance works at Starbucks, and I made him a little Halloween costume so he could be a barista for Halloween. So in February of that year, we ended up getting one more cat, and his name is Fizz. And Fizz, I never wanted a cat named Bubbles, so when we adopted Fizz, I was like, we gotta name him Fizz. So we have Bubbles and Fizz. And it was kind of my way to get back at my fiance for the name of Bubbles. Mr. Fizz! Where are you, Mr. Fizz? There he is. He knows his name. So, this is Mr. Fizz. He's actually one of the shyer cats. He's very sweet, but he is always shy. He does not like when strangers come over. So, Fizz came from a barn. It was so cold when I went to pick him up. So, a friend of mine, because I teach private lessons, so this family was one of the families I used to teach, and they had a litter of kittens in this barn. They had just moved into this farmhouse, and these cats, I think they had a heating set up in there, but this cat was feral when we got him. It was freezing, it was snowing, and he was not the cat I actually wanted to pick up. So my fiance was like, hey, go get an orange cat, because he's a redhead. He was like, I want a ginger kitty. So I went there to go get an orange cat, but all of the orange cats were total jerks. So here's Fizz. He's very sweet. He's just so shy. So I went to go pick up a ginger kitty. There was 3 or 4 of them in this litter, and none of them wanted to get into my carrier to come home with me. And the only one that would come home with me was Fizz. And I was at first I kind of thought he was ugly. I don't think he's hideous, but I was he's not the cat I would have picked. But he loved the carrier, and he wouldn't get out of it. And I was like, you know what? He picked us, so we're gonna bring him home. So we brought Fizz home because we wanted to give Bubbles a brother, and he also needed a home anyway. So we were like, you know what, we're just gonna only do rescues. So we are all about rescuing, and we don't buy the animals. There's so many cats and dogs and other animals out there that need homes, and you can find a really good one at a shelter without buying one from a pet store. So we got Fizz, and I brought him home, and my fiance, he was my boyfriend at the time, he was like, why did you pick this one? And I was like, I didn't. He picked us. And at first he was like, I don't know about this cat. This cat would hide. He was not about this life. He was so feral. And over time, now he is my fiance's best friend. He's his right-hand man. He's always with him. He loves the pets. But anytime we have company over, Fizz doesn't want to come out. Okay, so we're going to go back to Bubbles for a second. So Bubbles and Fizz became brothers. They loved to cuddle. And then what happened was is he got sick in April of 2019. So he had just turned 2 years old, and we found blood on the floor, and we found out Bubbles had bladder stones. So we spent about $2,000 trying to remove the bladder stones and get him unblocked. And unfortunately that didn't work. We tried again. We ended up spending about $4,000 total trying to save this cat. That we didn't have this money at the time, but we loved him. Like this cat was a son to me. And he ended up passing away. We had to put him down, and that wasn't a decision I wanted to make. I wanted him to tell me when he was ready to go, but we found out his urethra wasn't formed correctly from birth, and that this would have happened no matter what, so we ended up having to put him to sleep. Here's some of his ashes. I had this made. This has crystals in it, and my fiance and I are those hippie people that do the whole crystal thing. And here is a picture of him as a baby, and then here is ashes and a picture of him. And this was his favorite toy. It was like a little Frankenstein octopus toy. He loved it, and then his paw print. So we had already planned a trip to Colorado, and we decided to bring some of his ashes with us, and we buried him right in this spot right here. It's called Lookout Mountain, and it's kind of in the foothills of the Rockies. It's in Golden, Colorado, and it was really beautiful. It was my first time ever going west of Illinois. And these are some pictures of our trip. And we cried when we buried him, but this is where I felt like I was home. So we decided, we're getting married in a little over a week. We decided that we're going to actually get married in the same spot in Colorado. Okay, so I'm going to go back in time a little bit before Bubbles passed away. So this was September before he passed away, September 2018. And we saw a Facebook friend from Kentucky that could no longer keep a cat, and he's part Maine Coon. And we always wanted a Maine Coon, and so this cat was in Kentucky. The person taking care of them couldn't handle him anymore. They had asthma, allergies, issues that I actually have those too, but I just deal with it. And then we got Kong. Okay, so this is Kong. He's part Maine Coon. He originally was found in Kentucky in like a forest or something, and he was just a baby, and they bottle fed him, and he just turned 6 years old this summer. But he is like the sweetest boy. He kind of became my buddy when Bubbles passed away. And he loves being out here on our patio. So he hangs out here a little bit and sunbathes, and we don't let them outside in like the real outdoors, but he likes to be out here in the sun. So the same summer we got Kong, we also had another Facebook friend whose parents were going through a divorce, and they had a chameleon, a panther chameleon named Oliver, and I'll show you guys a picture of him, but they also couldn't keep him, and they had nowhere to put him, and we're not supposed to have lizards, but we snuck him in and made him part of our family. So Oliver was really sweet. The chameleons don't really like to be handled usually, so he didn't really like to be like touched, and you didn't really take him out of his cage, but he was so sweet. And this past summer, during this whole coronavirus outbreak, so I think in April this year, he got really sick and just stopped eating and couldn't really drink, and he was about at the end of his lifespan anyway. They live about 5 to 7 years, and we were guessing he was about 5 years old. So I tried to nurse him, and I was able to keep him alive 2 weeks longer than he probably would have been able to live, and I kind of like force fed him and tried to take care of him, but he ended up getting really sick and he passed away. My fiance thought I was really weird for doing this, but we actually put him in we bought this pot just for Oliver. So he's buried in here right now, and we planted flowers. But I was like, I don't want to just throw him away in the garbage or something like that. So, and we don't have our own yard. We live in an apartment. So he is in this pot right now, and I plan on taking him with us when we move because he was our first lizard. So this brings me to our next rescue. So this past November, so before Oliver had passed away, we also found someone. People just come to us. We don't go looking for rescues ever. And they just kind of have realized that we're animal people. So we knew someone that worked with my fiance that could not keep their bearded dragons anymore. So we had 2 bearded dragons. They were named Harry and Marv. Now, bearded dragons can be aggressive, and technically you're not usually supposed to have them living in an enclosure with another one. So what happened was we were finding Marv and Harry kind of going at each other. They're named after the Home Alone wet bandits. Okay, so basically what happened is we ended up finding one day Marv just sleeping in the bottom, and he wasn't sleeping. We don't know if Harry attacked him. There wasn't any blood or anything. We don't know. I really don't know how old Harry is or Marv was, or if they were the same age. But Marv ended up passing away, and we were sad about it, but it's honestly better for one to be in an enclosure at a time anyway. So this is Harry. He's my favorite lizard we have. He loves to cuddle and snuggle, and he'll let you squirt water into his mouth and let you pet him, and he's very sweet. So kind of to go along with what happened to Oliver, chameleon, we ended up burying Marv in a garden pot as well, and I honestly think it's made my tomato plant grow really well this year, because it's hard to grow plants in an apartment. So I feel like it helped fertilize the soil actually, but we're also going to take him with us. So when we adopted our bearded dragons and we adopted Oliver, it got to the point we have a second bedroom that was a guest room, but I was like, hey, Corey, who's my fiance, I was like, hey, we got to get rid of this bed because these cats and these lizards need places to roam. Like, they can't all just be smashed together, and they need places to be happy. So I made him get rid of our guest bed, and now we have a lizard room. I told you guys that I want to do like an apartment tour, just because I feel like I've made my apartment pretty cozy and cool. But this is our lizard room. I didn't really clean it at all before I'm showing you this. And so when we lost Oliver during this quarantine, we thought it would be a good idea to try a new chameleon out, because we have the cage, and I'm trying to find her. It's so hard to find chameleons. Where are you, Ivy? So we adopted a female. We had a male panther. Now we have a female, and oh nope, that's a leaf. I have to find her. I found her. She is very good, more than our male was. So the males are more colorful. She's very good at turning the color of the branches in this enclosure. So there is Ivy. She's smaller than a male. They also can lay eggs even without a male. So that's the only big difference. But she's really sweet. We named her Ivy after Wrigley Field, the Ivy where the Cubs play, because we're Cubs fans. And she's very shy. Like, chameleons don't really want to be bothered, so she's not liking that I'm standing here talking. This quarantine also brought us Brutus. Brutus is a red iguana. He is super cool. He is like the size of a cat, but with his tail, he's like 4 foot long, like maybe even a little longer. He's awesome, but the day that he came, this person couldn't afford to keep them anymore. So we ended up saying, okay, we could, now that we got rid of this queen size bed in this room, we were like, okay, we can fit one more tank. And when this came in, this is about 6.5 feet tall by 4.5 feet. I was like, oh my gosh. So Brutus can be aggressive. It's just in their nature to be aggressive if they're not tamed or if they don't feel comfortable. He's pretty good with me. I always ask permission before I pet him. Brutus, can I pet you? Can I pet you? So I always know when he closes his eyes that he does not mind being pet. He likes being pet a lot. But he's got this long tail, and they can whip you if they are angry. So he just sits here. The hard thing is we can't let him around the cats. This just wouldn't work. So we have to shut the door in here, and he is able to roam around this room. But I'd love to have a house where we can put him in like his own floor all over the place. But yeah, hi Brutus. He loves also being sprayed with water. So we have a spray bottle. This is how the lizards drink. I spray the top of her cage, and then she'll crawl up at some point and she drinks from that. But because they like humidity, he actually likes a little spray when they're shedding their scales. So he likes that too. When his eyes are closed, you know he's really happy. Hi, Brutus. Here's the last thing I'm going to show you in this room. So these are our hermit crabs, Mario and Luigi. They don't do very much. We actually did get them from, like, I think Petco. So these are the only ones that are non-rescue animals that we have here. They don't do much. They kind of just hide. They're hermit crabs. But they're cool. Okay, next rescue is this, I want to say it's a 55-gallon fish tank. We have some African cichlids in here. We had a friend who did not want to keep them anymore, and they actually ended up giving us this whole setup. So all of their, like, filter and pump and everything is underneath here, and then all of the fish in there are in there. They always knock down, like, their towers and stuff that I got them because they're kind of jerks. We also have some plecostomuses. So these are, like, the sucker fish that help with the algae. And they're actually my favorite in here. So here is our group of fish. Smaller tank in the main bedroom, and these are some other African cichlids. They're just smaller, so we don't have them with the bigger tank because these kind of fish are very aggressive and they're kind of jerks to each other. So we're waiting till these fish there's another sucker. We're waiting until these fish get a little bit bigger before we move them into the larger tank. Okay, so I have 2 more cats and a dog to tell you about, actually. But we actually have a bird feeder up here because we like to make sure our flying friends are happy. And we also noticed that we have a bee's nest underneath this bar right here. We were going to get rid of it, but then we were like, you know what? Let's take care of the bees because they like all of our plants up here. So we have bees too. Okay, so I'm not trying to make this video crazy long, but I have 2 more cats and a dog to tell you about. And I promise there's space for everybody. It's a 2-bedroom apartment, but it's a pretty big apartment for a normal apartment. Like, we're not in the city of Chicago, so if I was there, I'd have to pay a crazy amount to live in the size apartment I have. But, like, even this is my piano, and I set this, like, soft furry rug up here because, well, a couple of the cats love to lay up there. So we've created all these different places they can hang out that are much better than if they were in a shelter. Okay, so this is Javi. Hi, Javi. Hi, buddy. Hi. Okay, so I have a relative that lives in Iowa that I never ever get to see, who had a litter of kittens. And this was the week after Bubbles got sick that Javi was actually born. And my mom was like, hey, they have a litter of kittens. They all need homes. They don't have anywhere to go. Do you want one? And I was like, I don't know. And Bubbles ended up passing away, and then I was like, you know what? I could give a kitten a home. So when we were driving back from Colorado after we buried Bubbles, we actually picked up Javi. And it was so funny because Javi does a lot of the same things that Bubbles did. He'll actually play fetch. Javi! So if I throw this, he will go and he'll bring it right back to me, and that's something that only Bubbles used to do. Javi also sits in the same spots Bubbles used to sit in, and Javi also, Bubbles used to crawl under rugs all the time and hide, and Javi does that too. So Javi's been kind of healing because he really reminds me of Bubbles in a lot of ways, and I feel like Bubbles sent him to us as kind of a gift to help us get through all of that. So Javi, he just turned 1. He's an awesome little gray cat. He's named after Javi Baez of the Chicago Cubs, and he is super fun. This is the last cat I have to show you. This is Ernie. Hi, Ernie. We also call him Squirrel because we had this joke when we got him that because he's got this really fluffy tail like a squirrel, that he didn't know he was a cat, and that the other cats were like making fun of him because they were calling him a squirrel. So I don't know, we're weird, but we made up this fake story that he thought he was a squirrel, so we call him Squirrel. And he also is very vocal, and he will squeak a lot. So we actually call him Squeaks too. Hi, Ernie. And Ernie's named after Ernie Banks. So we kind of have a Cubs theme going now. So Ernie's kind of just a big fluff ball. He's really friendly. He loves to cuddle. And he actually looks the most similar to Bubbles. He's like a long-haired version of Bubbles. But he doesn't always act like Bubbles did. So, and we were just trying to give kitties a home. So he was born about an hour away from where we live. And, well, bye, Ernie. He was born an hour away from where we live. And he, there's Javi. And he was born into this litter of a bunch of cats. And they didn't have anywhere to put all these cats. And someone on Facebook was like, hey, we have cats that need homes. Do you guys want to have one? And we took him. So that's how Ernie came to be. And he's the baby of the family. He will be 1 this September. So he is the youngest and he is the last. So we have 4 cats. So Molly is my little princess. It's nice because it's a lot of boys in here. All of our cats are boys. And Molly is my girlfriend. She's actually going to be my dog of honor at our wedding. So that's why we're doing everything outside. That's one of the reasons, is it's safe and I get to have a dog in my wedding. She is honestly like my best friend in the whole world right now. She always gets food caught in her flaps. But she's a Boston Terrier. She just turned 7 in July. And we rescued her too. So Molly loves her belly rubbed. Molly came from an older couple. A friend of ours, grandmother, adopted Molly, and the grandmother had Alzheimer's and wasn't able to take care of Molly anymore, so we took her in, and we just got her allergy tested actually because she turns red everywhere, and we're still dealing with trying to work on that, but she's allergic to a lot of foods. We have her in a special diet now, and she snorts, she farts. She is like a little mini pig, and pigs are my favorite animal, and I would love to adopt a pig one day. So this is the closest I'm going to get for right now.